Welcome to Courtney on Health, heard on malcolmpresents.com. Good morning, Courtney. Good morning, whatever your name is. Max.
I don't have a name.
You're nameless.
I've been thrown into the matrix, which
I saw the new one. I don't get it.
All right, well, that's for a different show.
Anyway, I
feel like we're all in an alternate universe, though. That's true.
I think that's for a different generation.
Yeah. So, but anyway.
Let's start the show.
I'll start the show.
Our New Year's
show.
Hello. Hello.
Hi, Courtney, and hi, Malcolm, and welcome to Courtney on Health, a Zoomcast series about how to get through these lingering COVID-19 times.
Ever lingering.
Oh, yeah. With tips on nutrition and exercise given by Courtney Gravenese, registered dietitian with a Master of Science degree in nutrition and applied physiology. Courtney is an experienced nutritional and health consultant in the New York metro area and beyond and into the universe, and will help guide you on a path to wellness and health. So there's a poem I picked up online. I'm not reading it in its entirety. I kind of plucked things out. The name of the author wasn't published, so whoever this is, nice job. So here we go. Now another year is approaching fast. Let's hope it's a new year with love and health. Let's hope it's a blast. May all of your dreams come true, and may you find peace and love in all that you do. May this world know the gentle sound of a hush. May it calm all its anger and slow its pace from the rush. May we all hear the sound of joy. The new year, I hope, will be good to all of us. Care and calm, a helping hand when we fall. Listen more, slow down, and say I love you. Stop for a moment, take a breath, take in the view. Appreciate your family, tell them you care. Do something exciting, a thrill or a dare. Always remember, live in love from your heart. Wishing each and every one a year to behold, and may it be full of wonders for you to unfold. Love, hugs, and kisses too. A very happy new year from me to you, and from Courtney and Malcolm too, which we make up the crew of Courtney on Health. So every year about this time, we think about the past year and look to the new year with a fresh perspective.
I don't want to think about the past year or the past years.
It's okay. We had to deal with it, and we will. During these pandemic times, we need to be hopeful that things will get better. We have all had some tough moments during these past 12 months, but the calendar will flip over and we need to make some changes. What new goals do we have? Can we push forward into the coming year with a positive attitude and fresh ideas? What will be trending in the coming year, especially food-wise? Courtney will give us some ideas for what we can do to set goals for the new year, along with some great recipes and exercises. So Courtney,
hello.
How are you doing? What is the best way to set goals for the upcoming year?
Yeah, so rather than think about, I think we touched on goal setting, as many people do early part of each year. You're trying not to, resolutions really are, I think they're not movable enough. They don't have enough give and flexibility to them. When it comes to any behavior change, no matter what it is you're trying to change in the new year, most people try and set out health goals. They need to be set up so that they're achievable. And if they're not achievable, set up in a way that they can be reworked so that you can achieve them. So where most people, when I'm working with clients, get a little bit twisted around is in their initial setup of goal setting. So I think when we spoke about goal setting in the early part of 2021, we mentioned SMART goals. Do you guys remember that? So it's kind of the gold standard in behavior change on how to set a goal. So if you don't remember, the SMART goals stand for the S being very specific, the M being measurable, standing for something measurable, so you can go back and actually track your progress. Yeah. The A is going to be an action-based sort of, is it achievable? Which ties into the next one, which is relevant and realistic. So realistic ties into the achievable. Like, are you setting up something? I want to lose, and I'm just throwing this out there, 150 pounds, in, the first quarter of, 2022. But more importantly, is it relevant to you personally? Oftentimes people hear from friends or family members, or now more so than ever on social media, things that they think should be their personal goals, but are really more aligned to somebody else. In many cases, a perfect stranger. So the relevance needs to be, how is it tied into your belief system, things that are important to you? So why do you want to make that change? Why do you want to lose weight? Why do you want to quit smoking? What are the things that are motivating you? So it has to be anchored in that relevance in order for you to set up the ladder design to make down these little micro goals, as we talk, as we say, to lead to the overall behavior change, your objective. And the last thing, the T, is time sensitive. So just like you would do if you were working on a project plan at work, or even at home. I mean, if you had a contractor come into your house and say, yeah, we're going to redo the kitchen, but I can't really tell you when it's going to be done. Nobody would actually accept that deal.
You're not coming to my house.
Okay. You shouldn't accept that deal for yourself either. You owe it to yourself to set a time frame attached to it. And it's very movable. It's very malleable. So you can say, I can try to do this within 6 months. And if you don't do it, then you move the needle, you pivot a little bit, and you can work with it. These are designed so that you don't feel like a failure. And historically, like, when we used to do resolutions, or when people do these, big sweeping changes, they set themselves up for failure. And then of course, once you feel like you failed, you feel terrible and you're not particularly motivated to go try anything new. So
what you're talking about reminds me of one word, which also could be done in physical conditioning: flexibility.
Yeah.
You can't be rigid. What you have to do is you have to, as time goes on, you have to change and mold and be flexible what your goals are or time schedule. Same way in physical and getting physically better. I find that the older you get, the stiffer you get. So you have to add flexibility onto any workout.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, also the word balance I'd use too. You have to be able to balance things. And you also have to keep in mind that your body will go so far, depending on how old you are or how fit you are, or so you can't go in like gangbusters, I would assume, right? I mean, I would see people go to the gym in January every year. The gym is, you can't even get on a machine.
Yeah.
February starts going down. March, there's less people, so
every year
it does that. So it's the realistic. I don't know how many people are at gyms right now. I guess there are some, but that was always in my mind that I would see that trend.
Yeah, so you're right. The balance is key, and balance begin for your world, because somebody might be able to, hit the gym or whatever they're doing for an exercise routine, right away and very aggressively. But I always come back down to, first of all, is that really going to work for you? And whatever you set up for your goal, your micro goals now, you need to make sure that this is something you can sustain. That word, we use it so much, but it really applies here. So importantly, is this something you really can continue to do no matter, what the scenario is? And if not, that's okay. But what's your fallback? Okay, what's your plan B so that you can continue? Maybe you can't go 5 days a week, but maybe you can squeeze in 2 days a week when your busy season at work occurs and you know that you can't do that. That's the flex, and that's the balance that needs to exist no matter what goal you're trying to achieve. And this can even work for time management too. Some people, they're eating well, they're already exercising, and this is all fantastic. So maybe their goals for the new year might be, you know what? I'm working on stress management. I need to try, and I know we use that word self-care. We kind of throw it around there a lot. And it's a lot more than sitting in a bathtub with candles and incense. Self-care really umbrellas a lot of different mindfulness activities. So maybe that's your goal for the new year. Even that needs to be approached with these micro goals, breaking it down. What can you do? And is it sustainable, not only for the first of the year, January, but is this something come June that you can actually see yourself, envision yourself continuing to do, follow through? So I would just ask anybody, and most everybody's got something they'd like to try and tweak a little bit. Start with yourself, start what's important to you, work backwards from there, and then design very loosely these SMART goals that we spoke about. Tiny little things, baby steps, every month, every quarter, and work it from there, no matter what your goal is that you're trying to achieve. So
that sounds like a good way to go. It's
yeah.
Almost always easier said than done somehow, because it's a lot of things, especially in what we're all going through now with COVID, when we thought we were kind of almost getting to a point of, let's breathe. And now it's like, no, now they're saying double mask and do this and that. So there's a lot of stress and a lot of fear.
A lot of stress.
And I know, people might stress eat now. I don't know. People might overdo things to compensate for what's going on. So how do you handle it? How do you get into a routine, and what can you do in that instance?
You mean for managing stress in particular?
Stress, yeah.
Well, except for this show, we never want anybody to turn this show off in particular. But the first thing, and almost every psychologist, psychiatrist, or anybody, particularly these last 2 years, will tell you, you need to shut off the news feed. Is the first thing, because in many cases, all it's doing is creating anxiety. So it creates anxiety in adults. Our adolescents, the anxiety level, the issue psychologically that in particular adults, adolescents are experiencing right now is through the roof. You have to be careful if you've got littles in your house. They pick up their ability to read your stress level is very keen. So you have to be mindful of that. So you need to sort of quiet the noise around you. I'm not saying there's a difference between turn off the news feed and bury your head in the sand. Okay, you need to be appropriate. We need to be safe, but you can't be on the 24/7 feed of jump, do this, change that. When in the reality is most of us or many of us are doing what we could be and should be doing. But remember, people still have to work. People have to function. People got to get to school. People got to take care of elderly people. So in all that stress, you still need to do the day-to-day activities. So first, turn down the noise around you and focus on your priorities in your world to take care of you, your family, your community. And it ends up being the best road to sanity when all of these uncontrollable factors around you exist. And remember, we can only control in our world. And remember, you guys know, I'm an exercise physiologist, I'm a dietitian, but the reality is, as an educator, you always pull in those things that can modify behavior. We can only control those things in our world that are actually controllable and can be moved. So trying to not focus on those things that are out of our control at least frees up your time to focus on those things that are of greater import. Again, yourself, your family, your community. And I think personally, this time of year, and I know it's hard, people's time is tight. I know money's tight for a lot of people. If you're able to give back to a community, that sense of self and sense of giving back and worth is a great gift, not only to the people around you, but it's a great gift to yourself. That when we talked about the blue zones, remember what we talked about these, and this is a great way to sort of wrap up a lot of our topics this year. One of the reasons why they believe these individuals are able to live into their hundreds, late 90s, 100, is not just diet and exercise and environment. It's their sense of purpose. It's their sense of community. So never lose sight of that to the best that you can. And that becomes one important piece of the overall health, including stress, puzzle with which we, operate. So I know it's a lot. People are juggling a lot of stuff right now, but it's important to try and keep that all in mind.
Yeah.
Right.
only
That's an important function to be able to feel that you're giving back and helping either, find a local community center, find a place that you can, donate food or work in a food bank or work in a clothing, where they collect clothes for people. I mean, there's some really good places in this area. I have given to, community center up in our northern Westchester, and I know you participate as well.
Yeah.
So that's really, really important. But the self-worth with the blue zones and everything, but then you also said it's not just diet and exercise, but in a way it's important to still jumpstart exercise and whatever you're doing now. Are you feeling bored by what you're doing? Do you need new things in the new year? What could people do to jumpstart their exercise and then we'll talk about food.
Yeah. So I hear this a lot throughout the year, but in particular the beginning of the year, because I feel like people are energized, right, to work out. They want to try, right, either brand new to it or they want to try something different. So no matter what camp you're sitting in right now, the good news is to jumpstart, meaning your exercise has been mostly from your couch for like the last 365 days. Start with the easiest stuff around you. And I know, Malcolm, we talk about the beautiful weather where you are, but anybody I'm talking to in the Northeast, I always say you must have a contingency plan, not if the weather is going to be cruddy, because it's more of a when the weather's going to be cruddy. You got to have a backup plan, because the key is momentum and consistency. So you need to, if it's walking and all you really need is a decent pair of sneakers with some good tread, proper weather gear. So if it's a little soggy out or it's colder than usual, you're going to be miserable out there if you're out and it's 35 degrees and you don't have a hat on and your hands are freezing. So get all the stuff. It doesn't have to be expensive. Kohl's, all these great department type stores, you can get this stuff at a very inexpensive price. You don't have to have crazy expensive sneakers. You just have to have decent sneakers. Get the gear and get a backup plan for when it isn't nice outside. Fortunately,
Courtney, I have one thing to disagree with you. As far as gear, remember, I'm originally from New York.
Oh, that's right.
So I have gone out in the 0 degrees weather to run. Two things important. Just in general running, get a good pair of sneakers. I mean, something that's recommended for running, because it's very important how your feet land. If you get cheap sneakers, it's not going to do you well. You're going to hurt. So it's important to get good sneakers, and generally the good sneakers cost a lot of money. It doesn't have to be the top one, the top brand. It doesn't have to be named after somebody, but they have to be good. Number two, as far as cold weather gear, I'm forgetting the name of it, but basically there are special things for cold weather like New York.
Yep.
I know.
It's like Polartec. It's wicking material.
Yeah, I used to train at the Central Park Reservoir, and sometimes, in fact, when I came to California, it was I think it was like 5 below zero wind chill factor. But you go around one bend, and all of a sudden the wind comes in.
The wind.
The wind is the worst. But the thing is, running in the cold, I used to layer, and so you can take layers off, because to go initially, it's cold and you say, why the hell am I here? But after 10 minutes of running or training, you start sweating.
Right.
And all of a sudden it becomes warmer.
You're absolutely right, Malcolm. You need that gear. My comment about not needing very expensive sneakers for somebody just starting out, they're probably not going to be running. They're probably starting to walk. I mean, somebody who's really never exercised, and you can get again, they don't buy junk, but your average pair of cross training meant to just walk. You're right. You don't want to use the wrong a basketball sneaker to go running. You can injure yourself. So you're absolutely right. I'm talking about the first layer, jump starting what you can do. You get the right gear. There's no such thing as bad weather. There's only bad gear when it comes to, exercising. And that wicking gear, cotton is not your friend when it comes to exercising outside in the cold. You want that polyester. It's a synthetic that pulls moisture as you perspire. It pulls it away and it evaporates. So you always want base layer.
I'm wearing it right now. I've
There
got
it
a
is.
Health Tech from Uniqlo, which is not expensive, by the way.
I love that stuff.
And I have, a couple of, 2 or 3 of these I could wear underneath and layer out because, another thing that you can get if you want to is a dog, because you got to walk the dog and
Yeah,
that
walk
gives
the
you
dog.
exercise. So not only does my dog make me smile because she's a clown, but she makes me walk more too, which is healthier for me. So
Well, and you know what?
thank you,
With the trend-
Sparkles.
Yes, with the trend in adopting dogs, not just last year, but apparently there's no end in sight. That's the adoption rate still, you're right. It's a good, Fido needs to get out, right? So it's a great way to keep you moving. So get that plan. So again, that was sort of, if you're brand new to exercise and you're really just trying to, you guys know me, anytime you can get outside, I'm going to encourage you to. But for some people that might not be possible. But fortunately, with the wave of streaming fitness programs, things you can get, even if you just have regular cable running into your house, search for Fit TV, all of these options. There's so many things you can do simply by opening up your laptop, checking out your phone, your tablet, or looking at the television. Again, I'm encouraging outside first, but I do understand that for some people that might not be an option or feasible. So trying to get that plan. If you're trying to turn up the volume on an existing workout routine, the first thing I would just suggest is, most people don't have a whole lot of wiggle room in time. So they might only have, and I'm just throwing an arbitrary number out there, 30 minutes to exercise, and that's it. So it's not as if they can do any more time. But what you can do is turn up the volume on it. So make sure you are moving every single moment of those 30 minutes, add some weights to your routine. Remember, if you're going to do weights, oftentimes if you're going to be walking, adding weight to almost backpack approach. So not on your ankles, not on your extremities, keep it the center of your body like a hiker. And turn up the volume that way. So you're tricking your body into thinking that it has more weight than it actually does. Increase the handheld weights that you have at home, either double them up, or if you've got exercise bands at home, double up the bands, fold them in half. So again, most people don't have the time to increase, but they can increase the weight or the intensity. And that's a great way to get a better benefit from the workout, given the amount of time that you have.
Yeah, but speaking about time, what I found out when I start doing exercise is there's a hell of a lot of time in the morning. It's like in the morning, it's again, when I was training for a marathon out over here in Los Angeles, I would wake up at 5 o'clock. And I start going out, I take my coffee and go out and do my running. And once I got it finished, it was over with for the day. Then I could start my regular activities. And it was that extra time in the morning where, again, what you say is you don't wake up and say, do I feel like it? Because I've never, felt like getting out of a warm bed.
No one ever does.
Who wants to do that, especially
Never does.
To go running, if the answer is, do I feel like getting up and go running? Or
I'd be hard pressed.
You don't think. You get up, you put your socks on, you put your shoes on, and you leave the house without thinking.
Right. Well, you've caught the bug. Oftentimes, Malcolm, I'm working with people, they haven't caught that bug yet. So you got to work with them a little bit.
Yep.
And some people really are getting up pretty, at least in my experience, we try to find the best time. And the reality is the best time to work out is the time that you can do consistently and that you'll continue to do. For some people, it ends up being later in the day. I'm with you. I'd rather get it over with. I have more energy in the morning, but some people just don't have that wiggle room. They got to be at work very early. They got to get kids on a bus. And there's just nothing there. So maybe there's a different part of the day. Maybe it's their lunchtime that they're, again.
I've never been a single mother with kids.
Yeah, well, luckily we're not but it's, everything is rushed. So yeah, you got to pick the time that's right for you
The
and,
time that works.
and do your routines. But so what about food though? What about, eating healthy? What about, freshening up your food repertoire and what's trending for 2022?
Yeah, 2022. And we can delve into these, unpack these a little bit more throughout the year because it's always fun to see what's there. Now, by the way, we can talk about what's trending. Some of these things I'm not necessarily on board with, but nonetheless, they're trending and we kind of have to follow them. One that most everybody has heard about is just it's going to be an even bigger push towards more whole plant-based foods. So moving away from processed, we should be moving away from less processed foods, period, but a real big spotlight on less processed plant-based foods with an emphasis. I'm hearing a lot about more mushrooms, different types of mushrooms in there. So I think the manufacturers have heard the message loud and clear. We want to eat more plant-based foods, but we're not willing to sacrifice a highly processed plant food swap for the something else. So they hear that message. That's great. Grazing tables. Are you guys familiar with grazing tables?
Unless you're a cow grazing in the farm,
Yeah,
grazing table, well, you just pick things, what I would
exactly.
pick
So if
things
you
off
can
the
imagine,
table.
it's a table that's set up with a lot of, and in the back of my head, I'm thinking to myself, certainly not now. People don't want to touch other people's food. So
I know, that's a little kooky. I mean, grazing tables in COVID world, I don't know.
But anyway, it's in theory, it's supposed to be a table filled with a lot of healthful options. So, nuts and vegetables and fruits and things like that. And then you can sort of graze from there. I'm not a big fan of grazing, period. I think many people end up getting themselves into a little bit of trouble, but nonetheless, it's a trend to see. I'm not sure how it will be implemented. But anyway, stay tuned and we'll see.
Yeah, but Courtney and the Jewish family, that's been a trend for centuries. It's known as noshing.
Noshing.
Right.
Noshing is you pick up a little bit of that, you pick up a little bit of that. In Yiddish, it's a bissel of this, a bissel of that.
Well, what is it? The acai bowls? Is that how it's pronounced? I never even know.
Yep, you got it right.
Are they going to continue to be kind of a trendy thing? Because I know they were last year.
They were super trendy last year. And if you remember, we spoke about those and how they can be ginormous bowls of sugar if you're not careful.
Correct.
That didn't come up. I don't see that trend slowing from where it was, especially when you have businesses that their business model, like Pliables, is set. They don't just they do poke bowls, they do a lot of other bowl-based meals. But I don't see that trend slipping anytime soon. But I think my hope is that they make them so that they really are as healthy as they can be. Because right now they end up having less acai in there, meaning less antioxidants in there, and just a lot more sugar. So, but local foods and a bigger push on fermented foods. I know we spoke about fermented foods, but think more brining, canning, pickling. People have kind of, now that people are continuing to, they hunker down at home. They're trying to find different things. Remember sourdough bread, right? In 2021.
That was big. Mm-hmm.
People brining and pickling, which by the way, I love because there's also going to be, I feel like this bigger emphasis on reducing food waste. And what better way, or as one tip to reduce food waste, than to, you've got this surplus of fill in the blank, whatever veg you're talking about, maybe it's cucumbers, let's pickle some. You have, beets. Well, so it's great. That one I can see really like people embracing if they're able to. It ends up being an economical way. You buy in bulk, which is usually less money, and then you waste less, and then you have it for when you don't. Maybe those veg are not in season.
Courtney, before I forget, what are those bottles that you have on your desk?
Oh, well, this is the last food trend. I was going to save the funnest for the last. So
kombucha is
about them. So bottled cocktails are apparently a trend for 2000.
Bottled cocktails?
Yeah. So, like bottled beer. So like that they're individual, already pre-mixed artisanal drink. Like they're not just sugar water and they're like legit cocktails. My friend brought me a beautiful box as a hostess gift. This is months ago. And who knew just how super trendy she was, at the time. But they're gin based. The alcohol's already in here. So be careful if you've got kiddos at home because it looks like, right, pink lemonade. It's like,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
good. So this one's an old fashioned, so they're already mixed. These apparently will be all the rage. Great to have on hand. That way you don't have to have all of the different distilled beverages there. You pick one of these, you just have an ice bucket, a fun festive glass, and you're good to go. So that's what these are. These are just my samples of the bottled cocktail trend that's new for 2022.
I can picture taking that on a run instead of the bottled water.
Oh gosh, that'd be a short run.
Oh, wait a minute. What do you think the kiddies in high school or college do that are not of drinking age? They put stuff in, lemonade bottles, and they bring them to the beach.
Yep.
And they're full of really, high-end
stuff.
That's a thing. How do you even stop that? I don't know. For some reason, my head went to that when you showed me the cocktail bottles, and I'm like,
no, seriously.
I think these kids have been doing it for
quite a while. They've been doing it. Yeah, spring break.
Longer than it became in vogue, right?
Right, we're following their lead. We're just working backwards and saying, well, listen, if a high schooler can do this,
yeah, I know. That's just what we want. Right?
That reminds me of a 10K race. 10K is 6.2 miles that they had in Boston, and every kilometer you went, you had to stop at a bar for a mug of beer.
That was part of the run.
That was an actual race.
You'd run up to it.
It was a beer run, and you took a mug of beer, and then you left and you went to the next kilometer.
I'm not sure what would conk out first, my head or my bladder from having to go to the bathroom from all that beer.
Yeah, I don't know how that would even work. You're running, 6 miles. It's certainly not a marathon, but
no.
But you have the beer, and so is the last stop the pub's bathroom?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Well, with me, it would be 10 stops for 10 Ks.
Oh, okay. Well,
so here's a new one. Here's new for me. I have not tasted it. Maybe you guys have, but you know how there's always some trendy milk that comes around every year. I feel like, oat milk, was maybe last year's, along with pea protein milk, which, by the way, I'm a fan of pea protein milk. But potato milk apparently is going to be the 2022 milk of the year.
Potato milk? Oh man.
So I haven't seen, I know nutrition facts for the potato, and based on the fact that milk would be derived from that.
Interesting.
I can't see it being the powerhouse that either soy or milk is, but I'll taste it and I shall report.
I need you to definitely report.
What do you think? What do you think of almond milk?
There's two things. It's it is a distant place behind soy and cow's milk in terms of nutritional components. And from an environmental perspective, because I think people operate from two different heads, right? There's the nutrition, actually 3 different heads: nutrition, economics, and then of course impact on the environment. Almond milk, at least to date, is not as friendly to the environment as one would think. Everyone thinks automatically plant-based has got to be better. It's not. So,
But it tastes good. Anyway, guys, I hate to tell you, we ran out of time.
No.
It goes fast.
Yeah, it was.
Faster than we ever imagined.
Well, I wish you guys all good things in 2022. I'm looking forward to more shows. We'll cover lots of fun stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be good. I'm hoping things get better out there with
they will.
COVID
and by the way, for our listeners, you can go back to listen to all of Courtney's shows of last year. Go to malcolmpresents.com. I have a date on all the shows and a title of what the show is all about. And if you get restless between now and our next show, go back and review the year. There's some information. There's some information, though it's not specifically for the new year, but there's information that will do you well in the new year. So
right, and also coming to your podcast world, we'll definitely give information in the beginning of the new year about about that, which is exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So some good stuff coming down the pike, as they say.
New things happening.
Absolutely.
Anybody guys have a happy, healthy new year?
Happy New Year.
Oh, I'm gonna peace out
Yeah,
then
close
here.
out.
I'm gonna read the end outro.
Read the end outro.
We'll catch you guys in the new year. So thanks for joining us for Courtney on Health. To get more info, follow Courtney on her Facebook page, which is Courtney on Health, on Instagram at CLG Wellness, and visit her website, CourtneyGravenese.com. For more shows, go to MalcolmPresents.com and theManyShadesOfGreen.com, and we'll sneak peek the podcasts for next, all the major platforms, or at least some of the major platforms. So have a happy, healthy new year from the Courtney on Health crew, and Courtney on Health, smart, sound nutrition, strong, safe fitness. We'll catch you next time.
See you guys next
Happy New
year.
We'll catch you
guys.
next year.
Bye.
Next year. Bye.
Bye.